Hello. So, it's been raining for like 3 days on and off. It's been very gray and melancholic. And I've been getting pretty antsy. And the sun finally came out, so I decided to take a walk. And but I wanted to read like a nice poem or something to complement the walk. And I actually found one, and I think it's pretty interesting, and I just want to share it. It's actually called "The Sun." So I'm going to read it and then I'll just talk about it real quick. And that's it. So, the sun. Through all the district's length, where from the shacks hang shutters for concealing secret acts, when shafts of sunlight strike with doubled heat on towns and fields, on rooftops, on the wheat, I practice my quaint swordsmanship alone, stumbling on words as over paving stones, sniffing in corners all the risks of rhyme to find a verse I dreamt of a long time. This foster father, fighter of chlorosis, wakes in the fields the worms as well as roses. He sends our cares and vapor to the skies, and fills our minds like honey fills the hives. Gives crippled men a new view of the world and makes them gay and gentle as young girls. Commands the crops to grow and nourishes them in that heart that always flourishes. When, poet-like, he comes to town a while, he lends a grace to things that are most vile, and simply like a king, he makes the rounds of all the hospitals and the palace grounds. So, I just want to say a couple of quick things about this poem. Um, I'll get the least important point out first. Um, there's a reference to chlorosis. This foster father, fighter of chlorosis, wakes in the fields the worms as well as roses. So chlorosis is a sort of a defect that turns leaves kind of a pale yellow, as opposed to a more natural, fuller green, and that's actually due to a lack of iron and manganese in the soil. It has nothing to do with a deficiency of sunlight. But this poem was written in the 19th century, and also poets are not and should not be held to a scientific standard of exactness. So I think it's interesting, but I don't think it takes away from the poem at all. The second thing I want to say is that you can read the poem quite literally, right? We're talking about the nourishing grace of sunlight, the actual sunlight. But I think this poem can also be interpreted religiously. Specifically, I believe it can be interpreted as a Christian poem, and the sun here is a metaphor for Jesus Christ. And I think that especially comes out uh, in the last four lines. When, poet-like, he comes to town a while, he lends a grace to things that are most vile, and simply like a king, he makes the rounds of all the hospitals, the palace grounds. It sounds much like the life and times of Jesus of Nazareth. Now, why is that interesting? It's because of who wrote this poem, and hats off to you if you already know who it is. The answer is Charles Baudelaire. Um, and the poem was taken from his most famous work, Flowers of Evil. So that's really interesting if Charles Baudelaire left the poem open to be interpreted as a Christian poem. I guess my question would be why? That seems a bit mischievous on his part. Um, so that was it. Just some food for thought. I thought it was a beautiful poem, regardless if you look at it as this sort of natural, transcendental-like reflection on the the importance of sunlight, or if you look at it as a religious poem. it's still beautiful either way. So that's it. That's all I wanted to say. So yeah, I guess this is Counterpoint TV, a YouTube channel for the humanities. See you next time. Bye.